I have the golden ticket, so to speak, and access to the press room for the Venture Brothers. So let's go inside.
Well, I don't know if it's so much that the characters are succeeding as they're just sustaining themselves. And in the new season, like my character, Dr.Venture, is now wealthy. He's inherited money from his deceased brother. Mm-hmm. And he actually, in the new season, comes close to creating some scientific breakthroughs. But then in the tradition of the show, he's always sort of upended and thwarted by both his family and friends and his enemies.
Also his support network, but...
Yeah.
I think, Dean certainly has moved past failing to remain alive. That's a big step. Now it's all or nothing for poor Dean. He doesn't have any backup clones. And I do think it's interesting to see, for me, how Dean has sort of matured and the evolution of him being true to himself.
Will he be goth again?
He'll...
Because that was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, that was
he
a surprising
asks everybody
turn.
that question, by the
Will
way.
he be goth?
You know
Your
me.
character is.
Yeah, you know me.
I'm excited to see how it all comes together, having just recorded it and not having seen the finished episodes. What happens to Dean now in his adventures in college, truly living up to being his father's son, the only one who went to school.
Will he finally hook up with Triana?
Adriana, right?
Triana,
she's not going to be a huge part of this thing, but there are, as I've been told by my papa, other fish in the sea.
Yeah, the boys are, one hesitates to say maturing, but they're growing and expanding.
Do we have
In
a
every sense of the
hiatus
word.
at all that's there in the show, or is it just going to pick right back up where we left off?
Oh, like a time jump.
I think
It's been a little while since we've seen y'all.
No, yeah, and I think Jackson has said that basically the first episode of this is the equivalent of a finale to last season. So it pretty much continues.
So similar to your special
Real
you had.
time.
That hour-long one.
Yeah, which continued a storyline
Right.
from the season, yeah.
How would you think Dr. Venture would react to a reboot of the Rusty Venture cartoon happening within the
Yeah, good question. Good question.
I think he would want to... I think he would insist on doing the voice of Rusty Venture. And it would have a hard time with that rejection, which would be inevitable.
They'd hire Dean instead.
Yeah, they'd hire Dean, and then all he would do is give Dean notes. You're not doing it right. I don't talk like that.
I think Rusty now has the wherewithal to produce his own competing program, where he is the voice and no one
It's
can
a
tell
very
him no.
good episode idea, which we should pitch to Jackson and
Now
Doc.
I'm curious, what would Dean sound like imitating this?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, young Rusty's voice is not unlike Dean's. He kind of sounds like this.
Is that your impression of
Earnest? No, that's me
Then
doing
it's-
young Rusty
yeah.
when they flash back. It's sort of an earnest upper register.
Yeah. Ernest is the key. I wonder, in the strained relationship between Dean and Pop now, how much he would put into playing his father, or if he'd want to.
This is getting way too speculative.
I mean, there was a time, a couple seasons ago, where it would have been all he ever wanted. And he might have done it with a weird posh accent because he's not good at impersonations.
Yeah, but the
would've
boys are
made Dad
kind
British.
of coming into their own in a way.
Yeah, now that they are,
They're semi-maturing.
beyond even prog rock. Yes.
Prog rock.
So you were saying that Dean is kind of like finding his place in life. Can you kind of hint at like what direction he's taking? He's not necessarily following right in his father's footsteps, but
The sense that I get from the work that I've done is that maybe he's trying to find his place in the real world.
okay.
And that's weirdly now, I think, as a venture, he now suddenly comes from actual privilege, where there was a weird spell in the middle where there was a lot of success, not so much success or affluence, and now there's that sweet place in Columbus Circle. But as he's trying to find his own way, he's kind of trying to normalize, and it's really hard for someone who also has had to deal with the existential angst of knowing he's not a real boy. So I think like normalcy is kind of important to Dean, and the world keeps going haywire around him and bananas.
Definitely.
There are rumors and speculations of who the mother is for Dean. I'm just wondering, is there anything you can tell us about maybe finding a few more hints to who this is in the next 2 seasons? And how do you feel about maybe the fans not knowing? Do you like that kind of open-endedness?
I mean, do any of us truly, absolutely, unequivocally know who our mothers are? We've been told one thing,
Yes.
but how do we know?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
proof do we have?
Pretty definitive on that basis.
I ask you. I don't know what the hypotheses are regarding who my mom could be, so I can't comment on those. I don't know who the mother or donor or sample might be. No, I mean, we had an original, that we were clones of, so.
That'd be the receiver, not the donor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, you can donate eggs. So.
Well, I mean, we're clones of,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, an original. So, yeah, do you know who the lucky lady was?
I just know the ambiguity of the show,
Yeah.
which I think is a flavor of the show that's not going to go away.
For a minute, I was convinced in that old season that maybe Dr. Mrs., but that doesn't make any real sense. Like,
Nice. No, okay. So in this upcoming season, I know you can't give us specifics, obviously, because it's going to be airing shortly. But was there anything that happened that like really shocked you or surprised that Doc and Jackson took it that way?
the first big shock for me was Dean cussing.
Oh.
And that's like early, like season 2,
Yeah.
3. Like he had previously, not long before, said, "Do you know how many baby angels you killed by saying that?" And then for him just to go full F-bomb at the end of that episode with the burning crucifix on Triana's
But he also
lawn.
went goth too, so it kind of worked with that later.
Well, that made sense to me, but like the cussing out, like his true love's papa, that really caught me by surprise, and I was like, is this?
And my feeling about that is related to this, which is what I was talking about, which is the idea of them sort of maturing, and in a sense, even they're still living in the apartment now with Dr. Venture, they're sort of leaving the nest because Dean's going to college, Hank is out working and going on dates. So, and I think that actually gives Dr. Venture a little more energy and a little more freedom. And I remember reading those scripts for this season where Dean and Hank are sort of out in the world, like you say, in a way that they weren't before, not so much, being controlled by Dad. And I remember thinking, these are characters who change.
Yeah.
This isn't a show where the characters are the same age all the time. And animated.
And even not just the influence of Dad, but the influence of the whole compound being sort of a fake world. Stepping outside of that turf puts them in the real world. And
Was there any certain lines that just cracked you up and just got stuck in your head?
yes,
Yeah, that was a cheater. You're cheating right there. Like, well, can you?
A line from season 6?
or season 7.
Is that what you're saying? Or the new season?
Yeah, the new season.
Oh, the upcoming season.
Or even of all time, I'm curious as well.
Yes.
There's a line that's actually in the trailer for the new season where Dr. Venture is he's planning on a date. He's discovered that there's a woman who's a notorious black widow who marries rich men and they all die. But he figures it's a good way for him to have sex with someone because she'll be open to sleeping with him because he's wealthy. And all he has to do is make sure he doesn't get killed.
Safe sex, we call it.
And there's this. He pitches this idea, and I think Hank and Dean are there. Someone else is there, and they're like, "You really shouldn't do this." And I forget the lines, but he gives a litany of reasons why he's such a loser, and he's so pathetic. And this is finally an opportunity for him to have sex. And then Hank says, "Well, he makes some good points." That line really cracked
Well,
me
because
up.
Hank actually got laid.
Do you have any idea where this series is maybe going to wind up at, for the end game?
Syndication. Is our,
Yeah.
It's never ending. It's gonna go on forever.
I don't know, and of course, we're not part of the writing process.
Right, but I mean, you hear. I'm sorry.
The only thing I ever heard was, and this was like a few years ago, Jackson Public told me the song he envisioned for the series finale. But I won't tell you what the song is.
Is it his band?
No.
Desposito.
No, it was a song by a famous band. But, and then when he said that, I sort of got a sense of the flavor of the end of the show. But that was a long time ago, and and that may or may not be how the series ends.
What would you like to see happen to your characters in the future?
Well, this again is purely speculative because I'm not writing the show.
Right.
I don't know. I think a little Sopranos-esque ambiguity. Where is it all over, or are they going to keep going on? Something like that.
Adventures can never stop.
Yeah, I think they would keep going on.
I don't think Dean would do this, but I just had the idea of Dean becoming his father's son, really, and having a science empire, maybe even being able to clone himself and raise his young Dean spawn in the way that he wasn't nurtured and loved enough growing up, so he could make it right for someone else.
Are 3 levels of cloning?
It was like the un-Dean 19ing it. Giving that.
You had said that, so the boys are like growing up, they're kind of moving house, kind of empty nest.
Yeah.
Listen to her. Listen to her.
Dr. Venture's kind of state of mind this season? You said he feels liberated.
I think there's a little of that. I think he has flashes of success and self-confidence and delusion related to that too, where sometimes that sense of confidence and triumph is actually a delusion. But at least he's living in that little area where he feels good about something.
For the first time in a long time.
Yeah, for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, Doc still got it.
Yeah. No, it's there. It's there. He gets a kind of second wind this season in a way. But he's still the same old Dr. Venture with the same old limitations.
Foibles?
Foibles.
Well, let's see, Brock is still there. Would you say that like Brock is kind of, if the boys are gone, is Brock kind of who you are like palling around with in a way?
Yeah, well, the old dynamic is back, although Brock's is still sort of... Brock's on the side of those who are trying to prevent Dr. Venture from screwing everything up. So Brock's sort
Brock's
of
still with Doc.
Yeah, but he's kind of he's not so much a bodyguard as a babysitter.
Yeah. So that old dynamic is back.
Yeah, that dynamic is back, which is good.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for this speed dating round. It was
Pleasure,